crafty friends, it's Diane the Creative Inkster. Today is Monday, January 30th, 2023, almost at the end of the month, and it's time for a creative escape. What we're going to do tonight is play with the circles we have left over from last Wednesday's card. So here was a card, the tunnel fold card, which I demonstrated on Wednesday. So go on back to my main channel if you're watching this on YouTube, or back to the Facebook post, and you'll see how to make this very cool card. Just giving you a top view there. And to do so, I was cutting through 3 layers with circles. You could do this with squares, rectangles, hexagons, any shapes that you have, mostly in dies. I think lining up some punches may be a little bit of a challenge, but with your dies. And so it went through the pattern paper as well as the white. So what I ended up with was these, at least these 4. I have a whole bunch, so I've got them kind of all over the place. And some I've used and some I haven't. But I've got some patterns and some white ones. And I wanted to show you what I do with them. And I'd love to hear in the comments what you would like to do with them. Hi, Vicki. Welcome. Welcome. So here is one of the things I did. So here's another, whoops, do it this way, another version of the tunnel card that I made with other paper and a different kind of motif. And then on the back, I assembled the circles from here and left sort of the white space. So it wasn't just all boring white for writing my greeting. I had some color and some pop on there. So that's one thing you can do, is write on this one. I could have gone ahead and done that. Hi, Barb. Welcome. We're playing with the circles that I have left over from last week's Facebook Live, and if you're one of the people on my team, then you had the opportunity to attend a team event which was put on January 21st, and I demonstrated this card at that event too. So I have lots of circles. So let's use our circles up. So here's a couple of ideas. I showed you this one where you could assemble them on the back of the tunnel fold card. That's one idea. You can keep those ones that are the white circles, or even if there happen to be a calmer pattern that you could do some stamping on, nothing too ornate, but you can keep them to make a layer. So don't toss these circles out. You'll see when you cut through with the tunnel fold, they're going to be stuck together. You just have to peel them apart. That's why when we did this card, we only put the glue on the outside edges so we could tear or take the 2 pieces apart. But keep them because you never know when you need something to stamp on. So that works out perfectly, the cute little gnome. Here's another idea, doing a similar thing, keeping the smaller circle, but then layering other circles together. So keep them in my scrap bin because I may want to use them. I think this is where this one was kind of the idea from. And this stamp set, if you haven't seen it yet, is the Thanks a Bunch. And it is a celebration freebie this month, or actually to the end of February. Who would have thought we would have need for carrot cards, but we have need for carrot cards. Spring is coming, people. And there's some really adorable greetings in there too. So for a free one, hey, why not? So yeah, here we use it sort of that way. And then the way I'm going to show you tonight with my samples is to create a background with them. So this is very open-ended. You do it the way you want to do it. You could also just put this large circle cutting the edges off on the edge of a card, say here instead, and then you just cut the piece off and you've just got part of a circle. So we're going to play with the different circles we've got and see what we can come up with. All right, I'm just going to tuck that over there as a reference point. Get my other one out of the way. So I'm pulling out some colors that kind of go with this card as well. This is the card base, your standard 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4 and folded in the middle. This color is Bermuda Bay. I cannot remember the last time I used it. It's been a while. Sometimes when I haven't used them for a long time, I am sure there's dust on the top of that shelf with those colors on them. And I have found that with colors that I don't use for quite a while. So time to pull it out if I haven't seen it in use. So I want to put a layer on here, and I'm going to do this in this landscape orientation, and I want to emboss this layer. This will just add a little pizzazz to our card. If you're watching like Vicki and Barb are. Let me know you're out there. It's great to have your comments and your thoughts on all of this. Pulling in the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and I will apologize that this table is going to shake a little, so the camera will shake a bit. This one I'm using here is painted texture. I think because I've got patterned paper, I probably want to stick with something that's not too much of an embossed pattern. So on this sample one here, I used the Time Worn Type 3D, and this one I'm going to use painted texture. Nothing that's got too much of a pattern. You know what I love about these? You don't have to line them up either. You stick them in, you don't have to worry that it's straight. It's not a problem. So on the new Stampin' Cut and Emboss, when you use the thick folders, you're going to use platform 1, your paper inside your thick folder, and then platform 4, and run that through. And through the magic of all of that, you get a beautifully embossed piece of paper, which I know it's just white, but hey. And I have used this painted, like, don't get stuck in the thinking that this is just for sort of something that's like a necessarily background. I've used this for waves. I've used this for coloring on top of. So this is a really versatile embossing folder. I like this one. So I'm going to layer this on top of here. Am I putting ribbon around this? I am. So let's not get carried away. Now we're going to take our circles, not the white ones. I'm going to keep those for something else. I'll even leave them in my scrap bin, so if I need to hand cut something out, I can use up the piece. I don't have to wait. Hi Brenda, welcome. Don't have to use it just as a circle layer. All right, so we're going to go like I did on the other one and have some of these land off the page. And so on this one I used 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 2 of the small ones. I don't think I have the small ones left, so that's fine. We'll just play around with this. Let's get some liquid glue, and we'll just put it on half. We're going to attach the sticky side to this half. Let's not do exactly the same layout. Now what's great about this, with the having a pattern, I can actually line the dotted green lines up with the edge of my paper here and kind of get that straight. It's kind of like a little perk. And then I'm going to want to layer them in different ways. I don't want them all to be, I want them a little more higgly-piggly is what I'm trying to say. And not all of them be sort of one and then the other and then the other. Although you could do that for sure. But I'm going from a little bit less of a design than that. Put a little bit of glue on this one. And again, this one actually has lines on it. So I'm going to move this one down to the bottom a little more so it has vertical lines, and that's helping me kind of line it up on the edge. And then we'll add this one. So there's actually a bit of pattern to all of these. And we'll put the green one on. This is kind of a T or a, sorry, no, a cross pattern. Oopsie. Slid a little bit on me. There we go. And then we'll stick this line one this way. Squiggly lines, kind of squiggly lines. And they're just making a nice backdrop for an everyday card. And we're using up scraps, which is good. Okay, whoops, we got a little glue there. All right, we're going to grab our scissors. We're going to flip this over, and we're going to cut off the excess that we don't need. You could fold it over if you wanted. But having cut it off now and having lined it up fairly straight along the line, I now have 2 more pieces, which I could also put here like that if I wanted to, right? Or I can leave them for another card. So I'm not going to add them here. I'm good with the 4 bits of circles I've got right away. And I'm going to grab my Bermuda Bay. And when I have a dark colored card base, I like to put a piece of white on the inside. That's what I'm going to do here. There we go. Then it's all set for writing in when the time is right. Now, who's thinking what I'm thinking about what we should do with those excess circles? Should we like decorate the inside? That could work. I know this is not exactly the same color, but it's close. I mean, it's close enough. Could we make, it would make a funny looking circle. Let's see. Oh, this works. This works for me. No, I should have maybe glued it down after, but look at that. That adds a little bit. Okay, this one's, they need to be a little bit more the same size. So we're going to do a little, give them a little haircut. So we're going to line the two up here, and then we're going to cut the excess off. How many scraps can we get through? They're going to be side by each, so we're not going to notice it too much. All right, what did I do? Oh, I did it this way. And then we're going to layer them over. Okay, let's add some glue to this one, and then we're just use them up. Rather than adding them to your scrap bin, or your garbage bin, your recycle bin, and cutting back on the idea of having scraps. You've probably heard me say, because I do say it a fair bit, I don't like leftovers. I don't like leftover food. I don't like leftover scraps and embellishments. I like to use my stuff up, right down to the last bit of embellishment. Okay, so this one I didn't cut so straight. That's okay. No one is going to notice it. Now we're going to add a little ribbon around, and I chose this new stuff that I hadn't opened yet until preparing for this. Pool Party, and it's a satin, sorry, a grosgrain. It's got a nice weight to it. And I'm going to put it around like here, but I don't want to waste a whole bunch on the back. So you've seen me do this before. You probably do it yourself. I'm going to just quickly measure across, and I want a little bit to hang over. Not a lot, just a little works. And then on the back of this, I'm going, where it's going to land, you could use glue dots, or I'm using my Stampin' Seal, so it grabs onto it. You could use tear and tape too. Just don't use liquid glue. Ribbon and liquid glue are not a good match. All right, so we're going to add this to the back like this. So I just put a couple of inches along here so it has something to grab onto. Oops, let's get that straight. Shall we? There we go. Okay, let's see. Yep, pretty good. And then I have space under here under which I can add another little piece. So usually I cut about 4 inches, just to give you an idea. And I'm going to get my good ribbon scissors out. And then rather than wasting a whole bunch on the back, you've probably saved about 4 to 6 inches of ribbon doing it this way and tying a knot instead of a bow. So it's a savings. It makes your ribbon stuff go further because you've invested in this. You bought some really beautiful ribbon and you want to get the most use out of it. Okay. Ooh, I went to the left because I thought my garbage bin was there. Nope, it's not. All right. Here we go. Now we're ready to add it to the card front. Normally I put it on dimensionals when I have ribbon behind there, but I'm going to be able to go directly down on my card base here because I've only got a little wee bit of ribbon behind there. And I'm going to go right over the ribbon to give some extra glue there. I know ribbon and glue and liquid glue don't go together usually, but from this perspective of just putting it to help hold it in place, that will help as it dries. But I wouldn't use it to count on it to be the holder of the ribbon. Okay, here we go. Glue dots, if you're a paper pumpkin subscriber, you probably have lots of these like me. With the paper pumpkin kits that come every month, we get these small mini glue dots that they give you to use for adhesive, so everything is self-contained. I keep them and then I can use them for stuff like this. Get that off there. Okay, now it's time for a greeting. What I did on this one was I took one that said thank you so much, and then I just stamped it and cut it up. So just to add a little bit more whimsical look to it, the stamp set I chose for tonight is called Inspired Thoughts. It has like a Christmas, it has thank you. Oh, is that where it came from? Thank you so much. That is where thank you so much came from. Congratulations, hello, with heartfelt something. Maybe not so much for this. I like thinking of you on your special day. So let's see how that's going to fit on these little scraps of white that I've cut out here. Yep, that's going to fit okay. So we'll grab our Bermuda Bay. So the Ribbons Pool Party, the cardstock is Bermuda Bay, and we've got some other Balmy Blue and, oh goodness, no, I think that's Bermuda Bay in there too. So we're using a couple of colors that go nicely together. Just layering that down there. And I can't really cut this one up the same way, but that's okay. I can die cut it out. I can just put it on there and flag it. It's a bit long. It's a bit longer than I wanted it to be. So let's get the paper trimmer here. Totally creative moment. Oop. On the fly. And we'll just trim this guy down a wee bit. I don't even think I stamped it too straight. That's okay. It doesn't matter. The person who receives it is not going to be judging it. They'll be so grateful for a handmade card. And I know this because with my co-workers at my sort of new job, which is kind of new, I mean, I've been there, been there a little over a year. When I give them cards for people's birthdays to sign, they just love it. They just love the look of the handmade cards. So they're not standing there thinking, oh, she didn't do that straight. So don't worry about that kind of stuff. Use your scissors. Don't get carried away. Don't over measure. Alrighty. And we're going to add this here onto that one. And it'll just pop up. Here we go. A couple of dimensionals because that's something we need for good measure. And we'll stick it over this one, which makes that pop a little bit. And then the embellishments I had were the, not here, are they handy? Where did I put them? I had picked them out. Oh well, we'll just find something else that kind of works. I don't think I've used these yet, have I? I haven't used these flat-backed pearls yet. So let's use those. They're brand new in the January to April mini catalog. And they come packaged like this. Okay, so when you get them, you don't get them like this. Hi, Connie. Thanks for joining me. These are what the dies come in. And so they're such a perfect size and firm to hold my embellishments that I create them for all my embellishments. And you could write on with a black marker. I just happen to have a label maker, so it works for me. And they all fit nicely in here and then stack in a little basket that I have. It's just so nice. Isn't it fun to like create, and when we're creating, we're just like, we've got to find a way to organize our creation and our creative products. Like, it's all part of it, right? So these guys are a little off shaped. They remind me of pebbles and not so much pearls. So we're going to put 3 on here. I don't always like the big ones personally. I really like the small ones. That's just the way that I am. But we will use them on here. So there we go. There's our first card. Kind of like the original one that I'm kind of working from. I thank you so much. Similar colors, similar stuff. Now we're going to use a different color scheme altogether. Here we go. We'll get rid of that. And I have some circles left over from the other celebration paper. This is called Favored Flowers, and it is beautiful. And so I had some of these circles left over from, I didn't actually do the same cards. I'm not sure where these ones came from. But anyway, it's all good because we've got them, and that's important. So we've got an Evening Evergreen card base, 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4, folded in the middle. Here we go. I feel like I could say that in my sleep. And we're going to put a piece of white on the inside because we want to be prepared when we give this card away to the lovely recipient and not have to cut up a whole bunch of bases to fit in. Here we go. Slide this guy in here. we're good to go. Move that out the way. We're going to work on the piece of white. Now we're going to emboss this guy too. I'm going to go back to the time-worn type. I feel like that is a nice look for this particular set of paper. I want to show you something about our embossing folders. This is another one of the thick ones. We're going to do the same sandwich, but you'll notice that they're starting to come with a black line along here across the Stampin' Up logo. And I'm not sure if that was intentional, but I have found that when you have them this way, I'm going to do the card this way, it helps you line up your embossing folder, your paper inside your embossing folder, if you line it up on that black line. I find it helps. Now this one's not so much, although it does have a bit of an orientation, but it helps when you have one with like the brick. You know how the brick is my favorite. So similar to that. So it does help. All right, so you slide your #1 platform in, and then I always put my fold for my embossing folder going through at the front, or at the beginning of it, and then plate #4, the gray one, and this is for the thick 3D embossing folders. And we have this one, and we're going to do this in a different orientation than the last card, but beautifully embossed, so we're going to put it on this way. Okay, all right, and we have a large circle. These are similar in the paper in that this is a smaller print and much closer together, all the flowers, and then on these ones there's more of a black background in between. I'm just going to play around with this a little bit. I don't want these touching specifically. No, I think I want this down in this corner, like that. And then we'll put them like this. Got a fair bit of the black pattern there that I don't need to have showing. So I think they're going to go down like this. All right, so I'm going to try to keep my glue to the center on this one because I see that I want it to be partially off the page. I'm not too concerned with how the pattern lands. I mean, they're flowers, right? We're all good. And then we're going to put this one here and this one here, and then this guy kind of off slightly, just slightly. Oh yeah, that's the back of the other paper. Here we go. Oh yeah, so it's the backs of each of them. And then this one kind of has an up and down pattern, and I do like symmetry, so that kind of works for me. And then we'll stick this guy here. So a good way to use up all of our little wee circles that are left over. I'll flip it over once they're glued down. Maybe give them a little press. And then we're going to take our scissors and holding this as a guide, cut off our bits. Now these ones are pretty small. I don't think I'll be able to fit these on the inside of the card like the last one. So I think these may actually end up in the garbage bin. Here we go. You never know how it's going to look until you start playing with it. So we'll get rid of those. And we're going to add some ribbon to this. And to do that, I got a couple off my rack. And I hope you're all there and can give me some feedback, because that would be really, really helpful. Oh, why did I pick that one? I don't know. Okay, so I have white crinkle, which I know I could color, but I didn't grab my corresponding Stampin' Blend color. But I could color that in Fresh Freesia, which there's a little wee bit of Fresh Freesia on the end, because I must have used it last like that, or use it white. Or there's gold. Any thoughts on what you'd like to see? The gold, I think, adds a little bit of an elegant look to it. Plus, it's thin and see-through and sheer. Or I have a smidgen left of the open weave Evening Evergreen that matches this one here, because this paper has Evening Evergreen and Mossy Meadow in it. I know what I'm thinking. Any thoughts? Anybody got any ideas on what might look the best on this? And white can look really nice too. And the fresh freesia, we could color it. I'm going to grab my marker while you're all thinking and giving me your ideas. Gold, okay. Vicki, Connie, anybody else? Thoughts? Because I've got fresh freesia to color the white. You've probably seen me do that too, and that just pulls those purpley colors in. So far I see gold. Gold! White colored with fresh freesia. Okay. Okay. Good with that. I have this scratch paper. Well, let's do that. And then we'll have a tie. Do we have a tiebreaker? Let's do that. And then I can always come back to the gold if we aren't sure. So it gives me a chance to show you how to use this too. So this is fresh freesia Stampin' Blend. You want to use the thicker end or the more brush end. And you can use light or dark. It really doesn't matter. Actually, I guess it wasn't fresh. Oh yeah, I think it was fresh freesia that I last used this with. This goes right through, so you don't have to color both sides, but I'm using a piece of scratch paper so I don't mess up my clean piece of grid paper here. And I think I've grabbed the light one. Yeah, light. The darker one would have a different tone to it, which you can go over it after. If you don't have our Stampin' Blends, the question is why. If you don't and you want to do something like this, grab a Sharpie. Any kind of permanent marker is going to work. So this is going to be kind of light. So we're going to run it by again. Give it another little bit. It'll look a little variegated, which is kind of a nice look too. Now you might get a little bit of this on your fingers. The only thing I would recommend you not do if you're using it as a background when you're coloring, don't use your craft mat. The Stampin' Blends are permanent and they will leave a permanent mark on your craft mat, which, you know, maybe you're going for a colored craft mat. You don't like the color it comes in and you want to do that. But I learned kind of, you know, by accident that that's not the best way. Alrighty, so that you can see that didn't take very long to color at all. I'm going to cut this off. And this stuff goes a really long way, 10 yards, and I don't know that I ever use it white, to be honest, because I just love the idea of coloring it up. And when you add Stampin' Blends to it, it thickens it up or stiffens it up a bit. Here it is, it's quite flowy. It's just got a little bit more weight to it. I think that makes it nice for tying. So then let's tie it around this way. Hopefully I got enough. I think we're gonna, can I get a bow out of this? Maybe. I may have cut it a little short. Let's see what we can do. I know I could cut it, I could cut a piece off and just do the tie around thing and then add a bow to the front of it, but I like to tie my bows. There we go. Oh, skinny fingers. If my fingers were any fatter, this would not have worked. There we go. Okay, so we got a bow, and I'm going to slip it over to the side, and we're going to trim off with the ribbon scissors the little edges here that got a little wee bit frayed. Not that anyone's going to notice. Okay, and if you find that your bow's flopping around a bit and you don't like that, you can stick a little glue dot behind it, which I think is what I'll do. Sometimes I find the ribbon does that, and sometimes I'm okay and it looks fine. So I'm going to use one of these glue dots. I'm just going to stick it behind here and peel off the backing that comes with it, and then push that little bow right down there, and look at that. It stays put quite nicely. Alrighty, and then it's going to go onto the card base like so. So pretty. And we'll add some glue. It's pretty thin ribbon, so we can easily glue over top like we did on the last card. So yeah, if you do a bunch of squares or die cuts or any other shape, you can apply the same principle. Use them up, don't throw them out, punch them smaller or die cut them smaller, or put them together to make a pretty card front, and you are all set. So I think I'm going to do the same greeting, but I'm going to do it in Evening Evergreen. So let's clean this guy up. Oh, I'm a little over my time. I usually try to be done in 25 minutes at the most. But thanks for hanging with me. Because you know why? I don't like to watch videos that are longer than about 15 minutes myself. Just kind of funny that way. I lose attention span. Maybe that's the problem. Okay, so do thank you on your special day. Oh, that was a little bit better stamping this time. Oh, I did thinking of you. Let's say thinking. Yeah, thinking of you. Duh. Thinking of you on your special day. And that goes for lots of different reasons. This one I'm going to trim off here. And I don't know. I want to like flag it, but I also want it to be shorter. I don't like too much white space on my cards, on my greetings. So I want to have a little bit of a little closer edge to it. There we go. What did I do? I kept it fairly straight, not too shabby. All right, so then we'll just flag the ends. You can always take a punch and flag your ends as well. I just use my scissors because in a pinch that works for me. Just cut in about 1/4 inch or so. They're not always even. That's okay. There we go. And then that can go anywhere on here. I'm trying to keep it kind of away from all of the whiteness on the top. That's where I'm going to put my embellishments. Alrighty, almost done. 30 minutes, yikes. Okay, we'll put this here, thinking of you on your special day, and we'll grab some pearls. Ooh, I have some of these pastel pearls left in the light color. I don't know if it's really Highland Heather or it actually is Fresh Freesia. I can't remember, but they're a good match. So a good match is all that matters. So we'll put one down here, and we'll grab one, and we'll, oh, hello. We'll stick you up here. These are nice big pearls. They won't add much when you put it through the postage meter. It'll go just fine. All right, so I'll pull all in here, show you the cards that we made tonight. So this one with coloring our ribbon, so pretty. Thank you. Thanks so much for being here with me. Thanks for your kind comments, everyone. Connie, I appreciate that. This is the other one we did tonight, and then this was the one I had originally done, plus, you know, using them up in other ways too. All right, that's it for me. Thanks for watching. I'm back on Wednesday night. We are doing a big 3D project. I'm actually going to show a picture of it, I think, at 5 o'clock on Wednesday. I think it's already scheduled to go. We're going to make a fairly large gift box for Valentine's Day, so you got to come back, 7 o'clock on Wednesday night. Thanks so much. Bye for now.